are you consistent with what you tell somebody you're going to do in the actions? Because any way that you want to look at it, people are judging you, and so even myself, I'm always testing people, so to speak. I don't have a pass fail, but I want to make sure that they're consistent. So I mean, I can very simply, if I'm going to commit to something verbally, I've got to make sure that I follow up exactly with what I told somebody I was going to do.
Your business's success depends on relationships, relationships with customers, relationships with employees, and relationships with stakeholders. What do they all have in common? They're all human. Because no matter if your business is B2B or B2C, it's really H to H, human to human. Welcome to the Human Connection Podcast. I'm your host, Karl Pontau. Each week, I'll bring you stories, insights, and practical advice from experts that you can apply to your growing company and daily life. This week, I'm excited to connect with Robert Butwin. As a best-selling author, speaker, and elite networker, he is known for his expertise in transforming entrepreneurial visions into reality. As the author of Street Smart Networking and an educational content producer, his insights have been featured in professional trade journals. With a proven track record as a top income earner based on helping others succeed, Robert's influence extends across Europe, Asia, where he mentors entrepreneurs in creating meaningful connections and accelerating their success. In 2009, he was inducted into the MLM Hall of Fame for his contributions to the industry. Robert's strategic guidance focuses on virtual networking, the 8 P's of a prosperous life, and 13 keys of business success for entrepreneurs navigating today's dynamic business landscape. Congrats on your induction to the MLM Hall of Fame, and welcome to the Human Connection Podcast.
I'm really grateful to be here and sharing my perspective and wisdom that will help some of your listeners.
Awesome. So it seems like a great topic to cover would be, how do you build such meaningful relationships online in a way that actually lasts? Because a lot of people, they have struggled with that. So I'd love to hear your wisdom on that.
Well, part of building successful relationships is showing up. The first key to success, no matter what it is showing up. And it's not about, you want to create your brand, which I've created a brand, and it didn't happen overnight, but everything expanded as of March of 2020 when things ended up going online. And my whole thing with the last name, But Win, is helping other people win. And, I love different acronyms. One of the acronyms of WIN is what's important now. What was important now when March of 2020 happened is I always believe in giver's gain. I wanted to be able to, when I start a conversation, it's never about me, because if you flip the W of me upside down, it's we. It's always about the other person. I understand the value of relationships. I realize networking is a bridge to the impact, to the wealth, to the lifestyle that you're looking to aspire to have. And so I understood the importance of networking. I've been networking full time since, well, I started networking in 1984, but full time since September 7th, 1990. In fact, 17 days from today was the last time I had 17 days from today was 35 years since the last time I had a job. But I understand the value of people relationships. Money can't open doors for you, only people can.
And I love that about flipping the M to the W from me to we, because I think a lot of people have that make that mistake when they're out networking, thinking about what can they get, what do I need to find, what am I looking for, and by focusing on the people across from you and helping them get what they want, then you're much more likely to get what you need in return. It's just a matter of changing that mindset and approach.
Totally. I mean, typically, and the key about meeting people online, and the magic happens when you do the one-on-one. Wherever you meet them, it's like, and I love the analogy of dating. And typically the one-on-one starts off with, and if the other person starts off asking you, what do? You want to keep it short, sweet, simple, because you really want to find out what they do. So my typical, when I start off with the other person, I'll say, tell me more about what you do, what you're doing to expand what you do, and let me figure out how I can be of value. I believe in, focus on being of value to the other person first. And then we'll take a look at where that relationship might go. But it's always about giver's gain, being of value, because I'm all about collaborations.
I think there's, I, I think we've talked about this on the show with someone else before about how that question of, so what do you do, is such a meaningless question. So it's such an inconsequential question when it comes down to really building connections and finding out how you can help people, because that what is often used by people as just like a sorting question to when they're trying to see if there's a person across them is they can try and sell to them. But I like asking more like the question, like, what are you looking for help with, or what are you struggling with, and who are you looking to connect with that I might be able to facilitate that'll help you solve that problem, because that really helps you learn about the person better and understand where the real value add can be, instead of just talking about the surface level, what of their career or their life.
Part of the way I started off, because I'm under one assumption, because people are looking for one of three things: visibility, credibility, or connectivity. Why do they want visibility? They want to be on podcasts. They want to speak on stages. They want, you know, to have, they want to write a book so they have more visibility. Whatever it is, they want some kind of visibility to have credibility to connect more to the right people. So my assumption is there. So ultimately, when I start off asking, what do you do? What are you doing to expand? And that's the key. What are you doing to expand what you do? Because that's, the point is, networking, going back to what I said a minute ago, is the bridge to creating what you want. People are all around. There's many different ways to meet people. I mean, everything I learned from 84 when I started networking to 1990, to 2020, was in the in person. Online, it's accelerated everything as far as being able to meet people all around the world, and I can stay in the luxury of my home. It's more time effective. So I love it. I got a plaque from United telling me I went through 2 million miles. You know, the, at this point, the only trail trips I want to take is wherever my wife wants to go. So, because I can be time effective, time efficient in meeting people and figuring out how to, and the more that I can be of value, it's ultimately expand my reputation. One of the things, and one of the acronyms I love, it's reach. If you're looking to reach the next level, no matter what it is that you're looking to do, your R is your reputation. The E is the experience that people have when they're in your presence. A is authenticity. I believe that people are looking for more authentic relationships, more authenticity than ever before. They can read right through all the masks that people like to wear. C is clarity. Are you able to help them get clarity as far as what they need to do to take the next step? And is your communication clear as it relates to having looking to develop that relationship? And H, were you helpful? Did you give them something that was legitimately of value to the other person? The more that you are able to help other people, it's going to come back not necessarily from the person you helped, but I believe that the universe is giving you the things that you need, no matter what it is, positive or negative.
So and it's a great acronym and great mindset for networking, and I do agree that when things got pushed online because of COVID, it did allow for a lot larger networks when it comes to the fact that the location wasn't an issue, and also um, the ease at which you could hop on a meeting without having to get your physical body somewhere. But I think it seems like it made the authenticity trickier in some ways, because people aren't there's so much of the way we communicate and bond is through body language and the subtle nonverbal cues. And I think you don't get as many of those on video calls. So is there certain things you do when you're networking online to kind of offset the lack of authenticity or lack of body language?
Definitely. And it's interesting you talk about body language because 40 years ago, in fact, we started this on my anniversary, but 40 years ago, actually, it was 42 years ago because I was on our first date. We went on a first date. In the first 45 minutes, she came to the realization she was never going to see me again. At the 45 minutes, I did something without even knowing. I was unconsciously incompetent. I didn't know what I was doing, but I flashed her. For those of you that are wondering what flashing means, there's a universal sign saying that somebody likes you. It's raising your eyebrows. So, as it relates to what you just asked me, to me, it's consistency. Are you consistent with what you tell somebody you're going to do in the actions? Because any way that you want to look at it, people are judging you, and so even myself, I'm always testing people, so to speak. I don't have a pass fail, but I want to make sure that they're consistent. So I mean, I can very simply, if I'm going to commit to something verbally, I've got to make sure that I follow up exactly with what I told somebody I was going to do.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the I think being more aware of the facial expressions and some of the other body language that people use to communicate, having more awareness of that is helpful when you're online because of the people are usually seeing right at your face the entire time. There's no like, there's and also I'm being recorded. And so just having that, like you said, the eyebrow raises or like looking at the camera and some of the other things that you talk about with trying to show up authentically, I can speak, are more important than ever when you're doing things remotely because it's uh, so different from the way we're used to interacting with people.
And one of the things you mentioned, and it's sort of fairly relevant because a lot of the stuff that happens, positive or negative, is a self-talk in your head. And one of the things that I've got what they call droopy eyelids. It just so happens next month I'm getting it, the month after in October, I'm actually going to have an operation to have my eyelids red because it looks like my eyes are closed. But yes, there's certain things that you can do or don't do when you show up online. But again, I look at it as an opportunity. I had to overcome my self-talk because I know that it looks like my eyes are closed, but you know, it's like when I started as an entrepreneur and I was, the lady I was dating at the time, I turned to her as we were walking and I said, there's nothing or nobody that's going to stop me to being successful. It's what's your intent. If your intent is to make the right, meaningful connections, it's to show up, be authentic, and focus on how I can be of value because one person can have a significant positive impact in your life. And it's happened more than, you know, probably 15 or 20 times, one person, because I'm a networker. I love meeting people. One of the things we quite often hear, know, like, and trust. Actually, I think that's backwards. It should be like, know, and trust. If I like you, I'm going to take the time to get to know you to see if I can trust you. Obviously, you want all of them, but I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. And, everybody starts off with a blank slate with me because I know that I can have a positive impact and help somebody change their life in a positive way. So I'm always open, but the key as it relates to a lot of the things that we do is most people I find are people pleasers. They don't understand their boundaries. So you need to understand, when is enough and how do you let people know of inviting them, whatever your next step might be.
It's interesting that you put like before no and trust because it seems like the I think when people say no, it's more about just being on like a superficial understanding. And then the deeper knowledge is almost like that trust. What inspired you to kind of put like before no? Because that seems like I haven't heard anyone swap them like that before.
I was in a breakout room and somebody said that and it made a lot of sense to me. I give everybody the benefit of a doubt. I feel that if somebody's showing up, I'm gonna like them first. As I like them, I'm gonna get to know them. I'm gonna determine is it the right kind of relationship, and trust is a very big thing. It's one of my key factors because my brother stabbed me in the back. I can't even tell you how many different times I've been, so to speak, stabbed in the back. There's an old saying, pioneers end up on the side of the road with arrows coming out of their back. But I also realize that everything that we go through as in the journey of an entrepreneur is there to serve us. And if you realize it's there to serve us in the lessons we learn, and it makes us stronger. So it's how you look at things. I mean, I'm clear on what my purposes in life is to live a life of meaning, being of value to other people. Again, it goes back to what I said earlier. You don't want to allow people to take advantage of your generosity.
So you mentioned a lot of great valuable nuggets there, but also sounds like you've had some experiences of people taking advantage of you, and like your brother stabbing you in the back. So what was, if you don't mind sharing, kind of what inspired you to be a full-time networker, and how have you managed your boundaries in the past?
Well, what inspired me is a 70-year friend of our family's. I didn't get to know him until recently. Was Harvey Mackay. He wrote two different books, Swim with the Sharks, Look Out, Get Eaten, and Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty. But I watched how he brought Lou Holtz, who at the time was a premier college coach, into coach Minnesota Gophers based on his networking ability. He was very instrumental in that process. So I saw the value of networking and I realized the value of human connections. And so it was something that I've just gotten to be very good at. You're continually learning as you go through the process. I'm always learning and open to taking a look at it, even though I'm very confident in my skills, abilities, and everything that I represent. But I'm always open, to a minor adjustment. And I can give you different examples of that. It's like, for example, in when March of 2020 happened, because I believe in the giver's gain, and I would have one-on-ones with people. I created a list of different networking events that happened on Zoom. Well, I was doing a lot of different networking events, and part of it I didn't monitor how my list was growing when I saw there was an inconsistency because I created what I called a vault that I would give people free access. That was my list because you want to be developing a list. So I had to refine my situation so that I would create the actual results that was looking for, which is growing your list. Um, and so after I have a one-on-one with somebody, they would end up on my list. The key about your list, because if you're looking to speak on stages, the reason you want to speak on stages is you want to give your message wherever your message is to multiple people. The reason they want or will put you on their stage is because they want you to bring some of your connections to them. It's a reciprocal agreement. So, I mean, I'm always going to be networking. That's the core of everything that I'm doing. It's all about relationships. People are what makes the world go around. I was in Tenement Square many, many years ago, and it was after they had that massacre, of the students. And a premonition came to me, and what I realized, if people have relationships with people all around the world, we've got a better chance of someday hopefully having some kind of world peace. It's people relationships.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was talking about. I have a Toastmasters meeting every other Tuesday, and I talked about how I've been fortunate enough to have traveled to over 25 countries. And what I love seeing is about when I'm traveling, it's just seeing different cultures and how the locals live, not just doing the touristy stuff, because you see that we all have the same sort of daily challenges we deal with, but we have different solutions for them. And it's not that one is right, one is wrong. It's more about just one's option A, option B, option C. And when you understand that, it helps you be less judgmental of people that are different from you, and it helps you open your mind to growth opportunities or new ways of doing things that you might not have considered that could be better than what you're currently doing. And so when I think about the way I go about building relationships or my approach to meeting people, it has that wisdom of and being open-mindedness of being accepting of other ways of doing things that I'm not necessarily used to, because I've seen how, despite our differences, there's so much we have in common, and it's unfortunate that we get so divided by ultimately kind of petty differences in cultures.
Yeah. Part of what you just said, which I really love, the point is if your mindset is the fact that everything that happens to you is there to serve you, every experience that you have, it's like when we travel, my wife likes to stay at Airbnb so we can do exactly what you just said. You want to have these experiences and then figure out how it is serving you as it relates to the things that you're in the process of doing.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for connecting with me today, Robert. If you enjoyed this episode of the Human Connection podcast, please like, leave a review, and share it. If you'd like to connect with myself or Robert, check out the links in the show notes. And remember, no matter if your business is B2B or B2C, it's really H to H, human to human. Happy connecting.